In a rare win for federal unions, a federal judge yesterday temporarily blocked Donald Trump's executive order that would have essentially eliminated collective bargaining rights for most federal employees. And the judge saying he will release a full opinion in the coming days to explain the order. But this isn't the final word. Attorneys have until May 2nd to submit proposals for how the case should proceed. Now, the Trump administration's dismantling of the federal workforce has been a key issue in the massive protests we've seen all across the country for the last few weeks, with tens of thousands taking to the streets in demonstrations. Now, one of the organizers of those protests, AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler, joins us now. Welcome to the table.
You know, Elon Musk and some of my Republican friends, not Michael Steele, but the other ones, say that these are paid protesters. The protests are organized. When we say you all organize the protests, can you just break down for the folks at home what is exactly happening behind the scenes? Is George Soros paying for this?
Well, and here's the other thing. So for the Republicans out there who think that, why don't y'all go and join up and get paid for the protests, and then you can expose it, right?
Yeah, this is ridiculousness. These are people who are hitting the streets, who are actually outraged at what is happening because they're seeing their services being cut. They're seeing friends and family losing their jobs. This is rippling out across all communities across the country. A lot of people think that federal workers are all in Washington, D.C. There's some, quote, bureaucrats, you know, data on a spreadsheet. These are real people, and 85% of federal workers actually are outside of Washington, D.C. So they're seeing the effects, and they're outraged. And in fact, we had some hearings just this last week at over 400 places across the country. With our Department of People Who Work for a Living, we said if Elon Musk can have his Department of Government Efficiency, we can have our department, the Department of People Who Work for a Living. And we're holding these hearings, and, you know, hundreds of people are showing up, in fact, in Albany right now on a Saturday to talk about the impacts of these cuts. And so these are real people. These are not paid.
And I care about those real people.
Yeah.
I also want to make clear to folks, though, that this has impacts for the rest of us who may not be federal employees, who may not even be in a union. There was some great reporting from the New York Times about the cost that it is costing the American taxpayer to do all of these firings. The Partnership for Public Service, a nonprofit organization that studies the federal workforce, has used budget figures to produce a rough estimate that firings, rehirings, lost productivity, and paid leave of thousands of workers will, get ready for this, cost upward of $135 billion this fiscal year. At the IRS, a DOGE-driven exodus of 22,000 employees would cost about $8.5 billion in revenue in 2026 alone. That's according to figures from the Budget Lab at Yale University. This is bigger than the employees themselves.
Absolutely. This is rippling out across communities. And as you said, whether it's productivity losses because people are terrified to show up to work and, you know, their intent of scaring people and dehumanizing them is working. You know, they're worried their ID badges aren't even going to work when they show up to work. It's, you know, a form of mental stress that no one should have to endure. To the folks who want to ensure that their food is safe, their water is safe, that veterans actually get the health benefits they need when they come back home. That's what our federal workforce provides, and everyone is connected to someone.
It's the aspect of this that I appreciate and find very important is what happens on the streets. And so, you know, we've been talking at this table for much of this year, since the inauguration especially, about how this is going to manifest itself. How will people respond? Have we just been beaten into a dull submission and just sort of sit back and accept the crap that's coming out of this administration and watching our neighbor get fired and, you know, not concerned about what happens to his family or her family? And what we're seeing is that's not true. And it's really important note that The Guardian makes about the protests. It says, what is so often dismissed as performative, music, drums, people parading with handmade signs to have their photos taken by others, is not a matter of collective narcissism. Rather, it has been recognized by many modern thinkers, starting with Rousseau, as an important part of building community. Politically inspired and inspiring festivals are not some frivolous sideshow. They allow citizens to experience each other's presence, their emotional dispositions. Many are seething with anger, and their commitment. And the point being that what you and other organizations like yours are out there doing, galvanizing people, giving them a space in which I can make a sign to express my frustration with what's happening to me. That's healthy, that's good. And the fact that we're seeing that should be a warning sign to those in power, because you may want to dismiss it as some type of performative narrative or some narcissistic, and Donald Trump should be very familiar with anything related to narcissism and appreciate that. You're going to pay if you ignore. And I think it's important that you're on the streets. How is that organization of all of that activity coming along? And is there more as we move into the summer months? And going back to what we were talking about before, the real life impact of prices and lack of product on shelves begin to hit families. It's not just the firing now. I'm fired. Now I can't even go out and get the stuff my family needs.
That's right. And it is about freedom of speech. It is about being able to express frustration and come together with a community and amplify your voice, because you as an individual don't have as powerful a voice, but you collectively do. And so this is what we're seeing. And it's a form of protecting our democracy, if you think about it, because the minute we start squelching freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, that's when authoritarians take root. And so we're trying to educate our members. We're trying to show people that that's a muscle that you have to build up constantly. You have to be out there, because if you're not, if you're silent, then that's when these things go too far, right? And so I'm encouraged, because all those signs, all those people showing up are making a difference. And if you think about the success that we've just had with some of these recent court decisions, with the fact that Elon Musk is silently and slowly creeping out of Doge and back to Tesla. The fact that some of these executive orders have been rolled back, or, preliminary injunctions taking place. It's all because of the pressure, and that pressure comes from the people.
Amen. Amen. Liz Shuler, thank you so much for stopping in this morning. Really appreciate it.